to Prince George's County, where we are looking at the police chief and the state's attorney about to make an announcement on a couple of indictments on county cops.
Thank you very much for coming out this afternoon. We're here to announce that a Prince George's County grand jury has returned indictments in the case of two officers, Charles Picard and also Jerry Thomas. And the chief and I are standing together this afternoon because we recognize that in each of these cases, it is extremely important that we maintain the trust of this community. Although we are committed to continuing to cause a decline in crime in this county, we've been unapologetic about the firm stance that we've taken against criminals in our community, but we recognize as well that we can never do so while violating the rights of individuals that we arrest. And so the chief and I are standing here today because we are partners in this effort, and we are pleased that this case will be handled in due course, and that the criminal justice system will move forward. I don't know whether you want to say something.
Yeah, just I think it's important for our community to understand that the cases that we're going to talk about today did not come from citizen complaints. They came from an internal review process. As it went through this process up the levels, the information that we came across, we believe, needed to go to the state's attorney for an independent review. That's what happened. That information then went to the grand jury, and because of that, we now have indictments on two officers. We certainly respect the grand jury's decision in this, and now it'll be turned over to the courts for due process of these officers. It's important for our community to understand that transparency, ethical policing, constitutional policing is something that this police department stands by, and actions like this need to be scrutinized and go through this process. We're committed to serving our community, and that's what we'll always do together with the state's attorney. I'd like to thank her for her help in reviewing these cases and for her leadership in this.
Could you talk to us about some of the circumstances of these indictments as they're outlined in the court record and what they show occurred?
So in each of the cases, we have evidence that shows each of the officers assaulting individuals. We have Charles Picard, who was employed in working at Suitland High School. So this involves a student at Suitland High School. And then in the case of Jerry Thomas, we have evidence that shows that he allegedly assaulted a young man who was in custody, who was handcuffed at the time of the assault. And those are the circumstances. Both of these are fairly young arrestees, and those are the facts that we believe will be.
I understand both of these were captured on video. Have you seen the video? Can you describe what you've seen?
Well, they both are captured on video. At least parts of the incident in both cases. We have reviewed that video. Again, we have an extensive process where we review all of these cases prior to making decisions about them. And based on what we saw in the video, we believe that it was appropriate to present it to a grand jury. And the grand jury in each instance came back with and charged officer in the case of Charles Picard, second-degree assault and misconduct in office. And in the case of Jerry Thomas, we were able to have an indictment returned for misconduct in office.
Chief, when you say this was an internal review, was this something where one of your officers who had observed something came forward to point a finger, or was there some other means that came to light?
Both of these officers filled out use of force reviews. Anytime force is used by an officer on this police department within 24 hours, a use of force review has to be done. As that officer filled out that information and it was forwarded up the chain of command, it was reviewed and then investigated, and then these factors came to light, and it was referred to the state's attorney for her review, independent review.
So it was your internal affairs investigators that discovered that they were not telling the truth in this use of force?
Yes. Basically, we went through it and reviewed the videos, interviews of potential victims, other witnesses, and at that point, we felt we had enough probable cause that we needed to go to the state's attorney to have an independent review, like we do with all our cases. And at that point, that information was referred to the grand jury.
What about these cases troubled you that made you want to go ahead and take this next step? What did you see on the video that concerned you? I understand there really weren't any injuries involved.
No, nothing serious. There's everything that we've been able to do in the last 4 years based on trust. And when you have someone in your custody, that person, you're responsible for that person. In my opinion, anything that questions or threatens that trust in the community has got to go to the state's attorney. Both of these cases were disappointing to me because we've worked hard in building relationships within the community. But as we took it to the grand jury, they made a decision to pursue charges. These officers will have their day in court under due process, and all of the facts will come out in these cases.
Charles Picard, is this the same officer that back in 2010 was suspended for alleged misconduct in a moonlighting case?
I don't know. I can get that for you. I can check that. I don't have that information.
I'm concerned whether there's some kind of pattern involved with this officer.
We'll get back to you on that.
How would you describe what happened with the Suitland High School student? Characterize it for us.
Well, and again, we don't want to discuss too many of the facts in the case, but what the videotape essentially will show is the officer allegedly assaulting a young man who was in a hallway at the school following some sort of verbal exchange, and that's essentially what the video tapes will show.
So is it fair for us to report this occurred in between classes or after school, something like that, in the hallway?
It was during the course of the school day is when it occurred. And that's essentially what it shows. There's videotape, there's a hallway. It shows the officer and the student in the hallway. And without any audio, you'll be able to see that there is some verbal exchange followed by the officer striking the young man.
Was there a weapon involved, a baton?
We did not charge we did not charge a weapon in this case. And all of these cases are reviewed. Again, the chief has described it. We have a special prosecution unit in our office that we created just a few years ago and have enjoyed a really wonderful relationship where the police actually bring these cases to us for us to review. We have a whole committee who reviews it, looks at all the evidence, and then we make decisions about the cases.
Was the student arrested or charged?
In this case, no.
The student was not arrested or charged?
No.
And a male or female student?
Male student.
Approximate age?
18. 17 at the time of the offense, 18 now.
What are the charges here for the school resource officer?
This is second-degree assault and misconduct in office.
Can you talk a little bit more about the other incident in the jail?
So we have evidence and the videotape in that case, without going into all the facts, will essentially show that the arrestee was in handcuffs and that the officer came into a room and struck and it shows him striking the young man.
And what were the charges against the individual in custody?
The arrestee. Well, we'll get that information for you.
How old was
Destruction of property.
Destruction of property.
How old was that person?
15.
15.
Male?
Male.
And
Does the video show that the 15-year-old was provoking the officer at all?
What happened is this 15-year-old was in the lockup, was being disorderly, cursing, loud, yelling. The officer goes in and for one reason or another punches this individual and then walks out of the cell.
And that's unacceptable.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
No matter what someone is doing or yelling or saying.
It's a handcuffed prisoner in a holding facility within one of our facilities. What I saw was unacceptable.
That incident happened back in 2012. Why so long to bring it for an indictment?
Well, it initially started through the chain of command, through Bureau Patrol. It was then switched over to Internal Affairs, and then to the state's attorney once we had the internal review. It took that long. One of the issues was it took several months to find this individual, this 15-year-old victim. Different things, but the main piece with that, I think, is that none of this fell through the cracks. We continue to work these cases, and when there's issues that we have issues with or problems with, the final review is going to go to the state's attorney, and that's what happened here.
In the age of Ferguson and in the wake of many years of issues in Prince George's County, what does this tell us about the way things are now?
What it says now is that the that the public safety community in this county respects its citizens, really believes that we treat every citizen with dignity, even those who are in our custody, and that we will never turn a blind eye when we find that a person's rights have been violated. We are firm. We believe that we have a duty to protect the people who live here, but that duty also extends to the people we arrest, that we should treat them with dignity and fairness, and that we should respect the constitutional rights of the individuals that we're entrusted to arrest and to protect. Thank you all.
Live coverage for you there on News Channel 8. Just to fill in some of the blanks there, Angela Alsobrooks and Chief McGaw. This all grew out of an Internal Affairs Division investigation. They learned about the incident, as we heard there, through a routine internal use of force review. Officer Picard's police powers were suspended on November the 14th of 2013, and he remains suspended with pay pending the outcome of the criminal proceedings. He was on the force for 6 years and assigned to the Bureau of Patrol. Police Officer First Class Jerry Thomas has those misconduct in office charges against him. Those charges grow out of an incident while Officer Thomas was on duty in late 2012. IAD, that's the Internal Affairs Division, launched an investigation after, again, the internal use of force review. The investigation was forwarded to the state's attorney. Thomas's police powers were suspended in November of 2013, and he remains suspended without pay. So one of these incidents stretches back almost 2 years, the other a full year. But it was today that the state's attorney and the police chief announcing the indictment by that Prince George's grand jury of those 2 Prince George's cops. Live coverage for you here on News Channel 8, 28 minutes.